The biggest mistake was making it. It looks like it was made by children, and the kill scenes are on par with South Park at best. Absolute garbage. 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. Yeah, well, carrying you around in the womb is 9 months your mom's never gonna get back, but you don't hear her complaining now, do ya?
Shadowman time! Shadowman time!
I'll go ahead and read you some comments here. Hold on, this is great stuff. Alright, here we go. So we got, honestly, I would have enjoyed it more if it had not been a TCM film. It's actually a pretty decent slasher. While I think it's flawed and all the criticism it gets is completely valid, there are a lot worse films one could watch. I don't understand how the criticisms are valid. You people didn't understand the movie from what I've been reading. Everybody's confused. Nobody really understands the character of Leatherface. If you can't understand that Ginny was, the family dynamic. See, that's the thing. There's people who want the family dynamic of the first film. They want the first film completely duplicated in all of its glory. That's the only way they're going to make a great Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is if you have Drayton, if you have Nubbins, but Nubbins died. I mean, Drayton was old as shit. So after 40 years, you can't expect him to be walking around Harlow like he's a fucking young man, It's just... Leatherface has nobody else, so they gave him Ginny, and Ginny was the surrogate mother figure. So there's your family dynamic. Like, it's not the movie's fault, it's not the family dynamic you want. Mistake implies that some sort of effort was made. You can't fail when you don't try. This movie isn't a failure, it's just half-assed. I don't understand where you're coming from with the whole half-assed thing. Like, what effort would have been enough for you? And that's another thing that I don't like about these people who comment. They tell you it's bad, and it's bad because it's bad. Well, what makes it bad? It's bad. It's just a bad movie. Yeah, but why is it bad? You want to know what makes it bad? Because it's not Tobe Hooper's 1974 classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's it. They can't let go of 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And movies are not made that way. Movies with big budgets are not made that way. And I've seen people who say they need to stop giving this movie such a big budget and let an indie film director do it. Do you really think people are going to make a movie the same way Tobe Hooper made Texas Chainsaw Massacre if they don't fucking have to in this day and age? Do you really think people are gonna fucking suffer what those people did to make that movie back then? You're fucking nuts. Nobody's that dedicated anymore. Everybody wants to make the big budget movie. Granted, there are indie art house film directors who, just want to make the movies they want to make, but there's always some kind of budget involved, and usually people want more money so that they can do more, not less money, so they've got to work harder to try to make something fucking great out of a turd. But I still don't understand what makes it a half-ass movie. What makes it a half-ass movie? Was it the CGI? I mean, there wasn't a lot of CGI. The bus scene was, had some CGI in it, but the CGI was mixed up with practical effects. This movie had some really good practical effects. The one thing I didn't talk about in my chainsaw review, which I wish I had done, was the chainsaw sex scene on the bus. There's actually a scene where Leatherface puts the chainsaw through a guy. He puts it through his back, and they'd show a shot of the chainsaw coming out of his fucking groin. And he's running the guy into a girl, and he fucking chainsaws her and the guy together. It's a chainsaw sex scene. That was great. I don't think that was CGI. I'm pretty sure that was a practical effect, and it looked fucking amazing. So what was half-assed about the movie? Was it the story that people are confused about? If you understood the story more, would it not have been half-assed? This is what I'm saying. People talk just to hear themselves talk, and they don't actually know what the fuck they're saying. No, the biggest mistake was the way they treated Sally. Well, to be fair, Sally shouldn't have been in the movie. I don't know why they went that way. I did hear somebody say that it was supposed to be a goof on Halloween, that it wasn't so much for the cash grab or to try to be like Halloween, but to spoof on bringing the final person back, which, now that I think about it, kind of makes sense as to why they killed Sally off the way that they did. And if I choose to look at it that way, I kind of like it. But I actually think you could have gotten rid of Sally, not done the goof, or not done the fucking cash grab, whichever one it was. I don't think you needed Sally for this movie. I think Sally is irrelevant. I don't think Sally is the core of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think more or less it's the family dynamic, and at least more for me, it's Leatherface than anything. But I don't think you needed Sally anyway. It makes no sense for him to have been in an orphanage. It makes perfect sense for him to be in an orphanage. It's like I said, You'd want to be in a fucking orphanage too if it meant that the police couldn't find you and tie you to fucking 4 murders that you had just come off committing. You know, you'd want to be hiding out too. That's what he did. It was him hiding out in a fucking orphanage for 40 years. That's all it was. I don't understand this whole, orphanages don't let you take in adults, and he was an adult at the end of the first movie. He wasn't a child. I don't understand how people are so confused in regards to the orphanage. I don't understand. I'm pretty sure its biggest mistake was making him hunt like he was Michael Myers. Why? Why is it bad for him to be like Michael Myers or act like Michael Myers? Especially when you're using the motive of revenge. People do insane stuff when they're blinded by rage. So maybe he was a more efficient and effective killer. I mean, that's the thing. When he was stalking Franklin and Sally through the woods in the first movie, all of his family was alive. He wasn't filled with rage. He wasn't blinded by madness. He was just, hey, people are fucking coming into my house. They're out there in my woods. I gotta figure out what the fuck's going on. I gotta go do some fucking investigating and figure out where the hell they're coming from and put an end to it. That's all it was. So that's what I'm saying. What if in this movie, this is what happens when Leatherface is unchained? There's no one there to keep him in check. There is no family dynamic no more. Maybe that's how Leatherface is when shit like that happens. Nothing more like a good visual slasher for sure, but not even a good TCM. I fucking disagree. What more do you want other than Leatherface running around killing people with a chainsaw? I mean, does the dinner table scene in the first movie really offer you that much? I mean, I guess when you're following the one person around, witnessing their friends die, like there's a build-up, and the dinner scene is like the perfect apex to that build-up. But the dinner scene by itself can't be special without that build-up. And really, at the end of the day, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Toby's original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the majority of the film is Leatherface hunting down these teens. And that's all this movie was. It was just done on a grander scale. There's more people for him to hunt down and kill. And the only dynamic that's changed is the fact that he's not killing them for food. Well, actually, and again, in the first movie, he was actually killing them to protect the house. But then they also, use them for a food source, so... it kind of works both ways, but at the same time, too, like, Leatherface was feeling overwhelmed in the first movie when people just kept showing up at his fucking house. And then that was his outlet, was to go out and hunt people down and figure out what was going on and fix it. And this movie is the same. He's feeling grief. He's feeling sadness. He's fucking angry. This is his outlet. Go out and kill people. Hunt them down and kill the people who took Ginny from him. The whole movie was hot dog water. Well, sir... don't knock it till you try it. I'm sure it's a delicacy in certain parts of the world. I'm sure there's people that would love to drink some hot dog water. That face looks like a fruit roll-up. Horrible movie, laughable. The skin, I will say, the skin thing was pretty. The face was pretty laughable because he doesn't even tie the face onto his face. Like, the face is just hanging on because he puts the skin of the ears over his ears, which I thought that was fucking hilarious. I'm like, really? That's probably the one thing I was like, really? We're just throwing caution to the wind here. We're not even trying anymore. I do agree it was like a fruit roll-up, and the mask, I didn't like the mask when I first learned about it because I think his trademark mask is, something that he's created. He's took time to take skin, cut it up, sew it together so it actually fits his head. I don't believe for a second that Ginny's small skull would have given him enough skin to put over the entirety of his face. It just doesn't match up. So that one was pretty laughable. The movie being horrible, though, I don't agree with that. The biggest mistake was making it. It looks like it was made by children, and the kill scenes are on par with South Park at best. Absolute garbage. 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. Yeah, well, carrying you around in the womb is 9 months your mom's never gonna get back, but you don't hear her complaining now, do you? And what kind of an insult is that? That's not an insult. South Park's amazing. I don't normally feed the trolls, but the dude's coming off with some small dick energy. That's all I'm saying. Alright, what else we got? We got the film was shite from start to finish, and it wasn't the backstory that ruined it. Dude, these comments are like watching an episode of Dragon Ball Z. You're invested in what they're saying, and then it ends on a cliffhanger. They never come out and say what's wrong with the movie. You gotta wait till the next fucking episode to find out. And then even then, you gotta wait like 5 more episodes to find out. And then it just never comes. They never tell you why the movie was horrible. I mean, if there was ever a time where people were jumping on the fucking bandwagon, this is it. There's really nothing wrong with this movie, and even, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, even if this was just a generic slasher that wasn't tied to TCM, it was just its own movie, people would hate it, they'd call it subpar, they'd be saying the same shit. The fact that it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel doesn't change a damn thing. They'd still find something to hate it for. I guarantee you these are the same people who think that The Strangers was a great horror movie. I can't even tell you how many fucking people I see on a daily basis praise The Strangers, and that is the worst goddamn film I've ever had the misfortune of sitting through. I would have gotten up, left, and gone home, but I was already home when I was watching it, so should have left and went to the theater, watched a better movie. Should have just made Leatherface and the old lady a couple. I mean, they were the same age. You didn't happen to read the script for the sequel, did you? Because I kind of heard that's where they were going with it. I mean, it hasn't been, no, I'm joking, of course. It hasn't been confirmed, though, that they weren't a couple. Hey, who knows, man? Maybe he was hanging her on his meat hook this whole time. I don't know. It's possible. I'd watch it. I wouldn't watch it. That'd be fucking horrible. The one thing we don't need is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre where we watch Bubba go through puberty. That's definitely not. That's not what we're looking for. And you know what's sad is there's probably already a porno that parodies the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wouldn't be fucking surprised, man. Actually, the biggest mistake was the movie itself. Once again, no explanation as to why. It just simply is. Quality gore and some well-handled set pieces aside, it was vacuous horseshit. I hate these comments the most because not only do they not offer anything intelligible as to why it was vacuous horseshit, but there's things that they openly liked about the movie, but it's just still not enough. It's like the whole thing has to be perfect or it's just a shit movie. There is no compromise. It's like going down on a woman. You could put in a good 30 minutes and you're throwing out some solid fucking technique. I'm not talking about alphabets. You're putting in some work, like making ice sculptures with your tongue while entering the Konami code forwards and back repeatedly. And you know what? Even if you were lucky enough to have gotten to the finish line, she still would not have been satisfied. It still would not have been good enough. Oh, I love this comment. This is one of the worst in the franchise, and that's saying something. I had more fun watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation than this one. You, sir, look like the kind of person who would enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation. And you probably think 2017's Leatherface was a fucking masterpiece as well. That was definitely an issue in this movie. Also, the extremely bad CGI effects just took me out of it. The bus massacre scene might as well have been a cartoon. Oh my god, you people, some of you are fucking drama queens, man. The bus massacre scene might as well have been a cartoon. Oh my god, they used CGI! I don't know why they didn't just kill people. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. As much as I love Texas Chainsaw 3D, Texas Chainsaw 3D had worse fucking CGI than this movie. That movie had 2013 CGI, and that is saying something. That's pretty bad. 2013 CGI was pretty bad. Just to put it into perspective for you, the remake of Carrie came out in 2013, okay? And we all know what that movie looked like. The bus scene is not as bad as people think it is. I don't know if it's just the fucking Asian dude who says, try anything and you're canceled, bro. Like everybody complains about how cringy that line is, but that was the fucking point. That's why him killing all of them is awesome. Because they suck. Those people suck. And the bus scene, like I said, there were practical effects mixed in with CGI. Not everything was CGI, and it's so... movies are so quick cut now that you hardly see anything for more than like 3 seconds. This comment's kind of confusing. I don't know if I'm for it or against it, but it's the biggest mistake was CGI and the fake street full of kids and the light jokes, i.e. mobile phone on bus. Still, it's one of the best since the original. They should stop shooting the franchise on big budgets and shoot it indie. The high gloss of big budget does not suit horror. Okay, so this is one of those people I was telling you about who believe that the movie should go with more of an indie art director, which I believe Texas Chainsaw Massacre would probably thrive in that environment more than the big budget, but like I said earlier, most people want big budget movies, most people want more money to do more things with their movies, and that's just not how we're making movies now. You'd have a very hard time convincing Hollywood to back something that strays that far away from formula. Because nobody in the entertainment industry, whether it's music, movies, video games, nobody takes risks anymore. There's no profit in taking a risk and then losing everything. You know, they can't even afford to take that chance. Everything has to have some sort of guarantee of returnable profit. And that's why these investors will back projects but then change stuff, because they want things implemented that's going to guarantee some sort of response from the audience, people spending their money on a game or going to see a movie. I mean, even if the movie sucks, they paid to see the movie. They bought the ticket. That's going to go back to the studio's investment. I can respect his comment, though. He's got things that he didn't like about the movie, but he still acknowledges that it's one of the better sequels. And he even included how he thought they could do a better movie, which was by going with indie filmmaking over big budget filmmaking. It was a terrible movie and absolutely unnecessary. All they did was copy and paste the plot from every other Texas Chainsaw movie, which is definitely not true. This person does not watch a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, because there's only been 2 movies that have been revenge films, and that was this one and Texas Chainsaw 3D, which again, I heavily believe that this is more or less a remake of Texas Chainsaw 3D. No other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie shares this plot, so I'm gonna have to call fucking shenanigans on that. Maybe start watching other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, since you clearly haven't been paying attention. What a fucking wreck. Do you know how terrible your writers have to be to fuck up a story about chainsaw-wielding cannibal? But this story is an original story. So, it doesn't have to be about a chainsaw-wielding cannibal. It could be about somebody who was a cannibal that still wields chainsaws, but is killing people for alternate reasons. I mean, this is more of a comment for like a remake. This is more like for Michael Bay's remake than this movie. You can't really fuck up an original script. You can just make a script and it's either good or bad. So clearly you didn't like the movie, but your comment is stupid. I think this version was crazy. Wasn't another movie since I was a kid that made me feel so sick to my stomach and uneasy. Maybe not native to the original, but it did tie into it. Very surprised at the bad reviews. One of the best horror movies in the last 10 years, a true slasher. Great comment. Absolutely 100% a great comment. This movie didn't make me sick to my stomach or feel uneasy, but when he was fighting with Richter, and he fucking swung the hammer and hyperextended his kneecap, man, that made me fucking flip. I've never gotten a reaction like that out of any other horror movie in the last at least 5 years, you know? I mean, it was a really good sequence. They were fighting, Richter kind of had Leatherface on the ropes, and just by chance, Leatherface used his environment, which, take note, you should always use your environment in a fight. There's always a weapon or something you can use to your advantage. Make sure you're paying attention. And yeah, it was a great scene, followed by him just smashing his head in with a hammer, and it looked good. Alright, here's a comment we've seen 1,000 times over. It's basically just somebody else riding the bandwagon. How about the unnecessary amount of kills and the extent of them, and the fact that it felt more like some random slasher rather than a creepy macabre-esque horror movie? Or the fact that Leatherface would be at least in his 70s at this point, so the orphanage mom makes no sense, and neither does him still having the ability to run around and be damn near invincible for no reason, even though we've seen him endure pain in the past. The movie has so many holes to poke through and missed so many key elements, should have just called it something else. They didn't miss that many key elements. Literally, the only fucking thing you are referring to is the family dynamic and the Sawyer house. Which the Sawyer house was in it just didn't take place at the Sawyer house. Again, the orphanage makes sense because he was fucking hiding out. There's gotta be some kind of connection between him and Ginny, the family and Ginny. There's gotta be some deeper connection. You guys have no imagination. It's really boring to read these comments and just see so many people without any kind of imagination. You guys gotta start watching more movies and playing more brain games. I don't know what to tell you. I was kind of disappointed in this film. Nothing will ever touch the original. Nothing! Nothing will ever touch the original! Nothing! Dude, I hate to tell you, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is leagues above the original. Kit Carson and Tobe Hooper's script is so much more superior to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you can fight me on that. Holy crap, this is a long video. I'm up to 40 minutes, man. Gotta find a way to edit this down. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it here, guys. I have so many more comments that I could show you, but it's the same fucking thing over and over again. Nobody has anything intelligent to say, even if they're for the opposition and they don't like the movie. They just don't like it simply to not like it. And then a lot of people, like I said, are fucking confused. They have no idea what even happened in the movie. And they don't have the mental capacity to use their imagination to put two and two together. For some reason, people believe that Leatherface grew up in this fucking orphanage. They don't understand that he's just been hiding out for 40 years. And apparently Sally's been moonlighting at a slaughterhouse. So this is what we've got to deal with. We've got to deal with stupid people who watched a movie and hate a movie but don't understand it or why they hate it. So hopefully I won't have to make another video on this. It was really exhausting to look through all these stupid comments and just take it all in and process everything. I really don't want to do that ever again. I mean, unless you guys want to keep hearing me rant, and if that's the case, then let me know in the comments below. Go check out Netflix's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, available now. Hopefully you guys like it. And until next time, thanks for watching.